Hello, folks, and welcome to a very special episode of Generation Red, the kettle corn of Husker Fan Podcast, where we try to be sweet, but at times we get salty. I am your host, Ken, and unfortunately, my co-host, Scott, is unable to make it tonight. Usually he's on call, and this is a weekend he happens to be on call, but he's not actually on call for work. He's on call for mama. And we wish Scott the best that he needs to spend some time with his wife and his young family. And I appreciate the fact that he's got his priorities in the right spot. So joining me, as you can see right over here, is the Coach BA, the host of the BA Coaches Show. I'm going to screw that up all night, dude. I'm sorry.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good.
And he's here. We're going to talk about some fun stuff that's happened over the weekend. I don't know if any of y'all noticed, but Nebraska actually had an open practice. And Coach BA and I were there, and we have some observations, some fun stuff that we have to share with you. For me, it was eye-opening to watch an actual football practice from front to back, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So we'll do that. But before we talk about that, we actually have some clips of video that I pulled from Dylan Raiola's press conference on Friday. But before we even get to those, there's actually a couple of things I need to remind you all of here real quick, namely the fact that you can help support our podcast and get ready for football season by ordering the Hail Varsity Yearbook. Use our referral code, GENRED, G-E-N-R-E-D, and 10% of the purchase price goes directly to support our podcast. Featuring exclusive interviews and access, get the inside look at the 2024 Nebraska football season. You can order yours today at herdatsports.com. So don't miss out on this exciting opportunity to get your hands on this yearbook and support our podcast. We'd truly appreciate it. So go to herdatsports.com to order your copy today. Here I am. I'm in the wrong screen to go to the next slide, and now we're on the next slide. Real quick, remember our charity golf scramble is October 12th. We know what day that is. That's a day that the Huskers are not playing. So we're all going to have the bye-week blues. Well, if you play golf, we have the cure. So just go to genredpod.com. You can sign up your 4-person team. You can also sign up to sponsor a hole. Both of those situations would donate a substantial amount of money to the Salvation Army to directly help the victims of the tornadoes on April 26th. I know for myself, sitting here in the studio, sheltering after the sirens started going off and watching this coverage on the TV that we're looking at right now, it was really difficult for me to watch that. It had a deep impact on me, and I felt it's time for our podcast to have an impact in a positive way to help others. So all the proceeds are going to the Salvation Army, and they will send those directly to the victims from April 26th. So, and of course, I picked the wrong overlay because that's the way this show is going to go tonight, Coach. Do you need to throw a flag? I think we need to throw a flag. Illegal procedure, illegal use of layouts. What the hell would the hand signal be for that?
I will not break a clipboard. I have done that in the past. I have broken a clipboard before.
You won't throw a clipboard down? That's good. That makes me feel better. Oh, my goodness. See, now, without Scott here, one of the big issues, the fact that Scott isn't here, is he's the guy that handles all the viewer comments now. And that takes a lot of load off my plate as I'm running the stream, but he's not going to be here to do that. So my bad, folks, if I don't get to a lot of your comments. But yeah, Justin from the Voice of College Football, Nebraska Football at the Voice of College Football is in. He's been chatting with us since before we started. Nebraska Rascal, holy smokes, buddy! I don't believe I have seen you on the stream before. Thank you for choosing us and tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it. And of course, our favorite bot and yours, Mr. Moonbot,
the man,
7,
the myth, the legend, Moonbot,
the space cadet, if you will, for reasons that none of us really need to go into. How about that? We've got 22 people watching, and we're actually live on Twitter tonight because you know what? I had to do it, guys. I had to succumb. I had to give up my independence, and I got the blue check mark. But the beauty of that is it's pushed our show and the influence of the things that I tweet out to a wider audience of jack wagons. So there you go. Let's see, is there anything else I need to talk about? Oh yeah, like, subscribe, please participate in the live chat, as some of you already are. If you're watching this on demand after the show is over, please leave us a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. Help get us to 500 subscribers. We're only 167 away. We've seen our channel really begin to grow in the last couple months. A lot of that thanks to some advice that I've gotten from Mr. Justin at the Voice of College Football. So thank you, Justin, for all that you're doing for our channel and for Coach BA's channel as well. Coach, dude, you're here.
I am.
How cool is that?
This is so cool. I've been looking forward to this for a while now, and it's finally here. I'm sitting in the best studio in the Nebraska podcast space. This is the best one.
Okay, you earned your $5. I'll make sure you cash, check, credit card, Venmo, Cash App. Let me know, and I'll make sure you get that money, buddy. It's, you know what? That's why I built this, because I was spraining my hand and my arm too much, patting my own self on the back. So I need people to do it for me. But this place is cool. Being able to do this has been so much fun. Getting the people in the studio with me to talk Husker football, because it's what we love, has been probably the most joy I've experienced in this podcast journey, except for the fact that I get to do that with my oldest son. Being that this is a family thing for us, basically extended our dining room table conversations over Thanksgiving dinner for years into a podcast studio. And for some dang reason, people keep watching. And we've had players come in the studio now. There's a very good chance we could have more. We've had some legends on the show, and none is more legendary than this guy right here. One of the fastest growing podcasts on YouTube. Let folks know where they can find you on YouTube before we kind of get started to find your content.
Oh, just if you go right on YouTube, type in the BA Coaches Show, should pop up right away. My favorite interview that I've done, no offense, Ken, I've had you on as well, but I had Nick Henrich on a couple weeks ago.
That was a great show.
He was really awesome to talk to. So that'll probably be the first thing that pops up if you type in the BA Coaches Show. Go check that out. And I'm not even trying to get you to check it out to watch me. I need you to go check it out, because for Nick gives us a lot of good stuff. So definitely go check out the clips I put out, or just go watch the whole hour show. It was great.
That was one of those shows where he dropped a couple nuggets that I don't think a lot of people knew. Yeah. And I don't think we want to tell anybody what they were, just in case they haven't seen your show yet. But there's some stuff about, especially surrounding the hire of Rule, that I don't think anybody ever knew before. Yes. And believe me, you want to hear what Nick had to say. It was really insightful. It was good stuff. And it tells you the benefit that we have wearing a headset right now at Nebraska, the head guy. The fact that it's a good interview. You need to go watch it. It is absolutely worth your time to do. Well, why don't we jump into some, Dylan Raiola. The one thing I've noticed about him when he talks at the microphone, and I've only seen him a limited number of times, he doesn't exactly remind me of Adrian Martinez, because Adrian Martinez was just looked like he'd been standing in front of microphones all of his life. Dylan looks a little uncomfortable. But at the same time, he's very clear in what he says. He has no problem answering questions. Looks like he's listened to some people that have told him, you want to kind of steer clear of this, but it's okay to talk about this. And he sounds a lot like his coach, just 100%. Like everybody else sounds like his head coach. So it's been enjoyable listening to him talk on Friday. That some of the best stuff I kept. I think I got 6 clips of audio here of things that I thought were really pertinent leading into the practice last night. Braska Rascal, thank you. I'm sorry, I don't remember you, but maybe that was back when I was still drinking 2 years ago, because there's not a whole lot of those streams I remember, and I've gone back and watched them, and now I know why I don't remember them, because good God, they were hideous. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. So let's jump into them. Let's watch this first clip. This is a question he was asked about his wide receiver room. I think it was the 3rd or 4th question in this session. And this is an interesting, I love what he has to say about his guys.
Yeah, I think we have a special core. special group. It's on a foundation of trust and work. We came in January not really knowing what the room was going to look like. Obviously adding Jamal and Isaiah, but you add and you put a lot of new guys in the room together. It doesn't really matter how much talent. You got to come together and you got to work. So I'm really confident where we're at right now as a group. Tight ends have done a great job, not only catching the ball, but they understand they got to block and do those kind of things, and getting our backs more involved has been good. They not only run the ball, but they're threats to catch the ball. So we've developed a bunch of trust and a bunch of work. So it's been exciting.
Okay, initial thoughts with what he said based on kind of what you saw last night, without giving away too much about what you want to say about last night. But
my initial thoughts right there is something that I really, really love is how much he was putting over everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was really making sure the wide receivers got their shine. The tight ends are also doing a really good job. Oh yeah, the running backs too.
Yep.
Yes, I like that he got everybody involved in that question. And to me, that's something I really like to see from the leader of this team is in capturing everybody in that sentiment.
Yeah, making sure that no stone is number one left unturned when it comes to paying attention to detail, but also the fact that everybody knows that he's watching what they're doing.
Yes,
and that he's holding not only them to account but himself as well. I thought that was I loved when he got to the end and he was like, yeah, the running backs, these guys can catch the ball. We saw some of that. We saw some pretty impressive runs as well as catches and runs after the catch last night by a couple of those guys. And we'll get to those guys here in a little bit. So stick around. We're going to talk. Let's hear what Dylan had to say about wearing the number 15, which seemed to be a pretty hot topic around the state. What's going to happen with number 15? Is Shai going to keep it? Fly Like Chai going to keep it? Or is Dylan going to wear it? And why the hell does he wear it in the first place, right? Was kind of an interesting question. I appreciated it, and I really appreciate it.
No, I wore 15 when I was my first year of football. Tim Tebow. Strong Christian person, played football, in Florida. And, I look up to people that have good character and, are good at their good person. And he was that guy at the time. I kind of went away from it. I went to 1, and then, it felt better to be at 15. Honestly, at Buford, a funny story, KJ Bolden wore number 1. And when I transferred there, we were trying to work something out, like, can I get 1 and whatever. And then it kind of just worked out to be 15. And as I started wearing it, it just, I felt like it fitted me. And, it's a cool number, I think.
Have you and Malachi figured out what you're going to do?
We haven't had our single digit whatever, so that's his plan. But, we'll figure that out when time comes. But, yeah, we haven't figured it out yet.
That was pretty insightful. We don't know yet what's going to happen with number 15. Who's going to wear it?
I thought it was kind of interesting there that he said that's his plan. That's Malachi's plan.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us have kind of thought that, like, maybe if someone was going for it, it might be Dylan trying to get that number 1. But if you listen to him right there at the end, he said that's his plan.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. That I honestly, the first time I watched this, I just watched the whole the full speech through. I didn't watch the clip. I didn't catch that the first time. So that's me reacting to this in real time. I didn't catch that. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's a great catch too, because this is like the 4th time I watched it, and I didn't catch that referral to Malachi either. And I think that's pretty good. I think that's a kid that understands his place on the team, number 1, and that Malachi kind of earned that number last year. If they both get single digits, I guess it's a moot point, but do you think, based on his answer, that Dylan would take a single digit instead of the 15 if he was actually voted to get one?
I think that if he gets voted to get one, he would. And I think the big reason I say that is a couple of the players I've talked to, but I'll just say we referenced him earlier, specifically Nick Henrich. He told me that he was pretty partial to his number, but then once he really got in the program and realized how much of an honor that single digit was, it would be almost, I don't want to say disrespectful, but it'd be, if you get voted by your teammates to get that single digit number and you're like, no, I'm good.
No, I'm not wearing it. Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of a respect thing of being, showing the team their respect. If you guys respect me enough, I'm going to respect you now. So I feel like if he gets voted for it, he would wear it. That's just kind of my thoughts. But hey, I'm not in the mind of Dylan Raiola, but
Neither am I, but
Yeah.
my guess is he would probably take that single
Mhm.
digit as well. He would have earned it for
Oh,
sure.
100%.
And why wouldn't you want to wear number 1 again?
Right.
If you're
Right.
QB1, I think it'd be
Yeah.
pretty cool. So the next clip we've got here is Dylan talking specifically about being asked about looking like Mahomes. You guys know how these press conferences work, right? You never can hear the question. You base what the question was based on how they answer it, right? And he kind of smiles. He has a little fun with it, and he really navigated the question well. And I think he was pretty dang sincere. I really do. This is really cool what he has to say about looking like Mahomes and what everybody thought was going on when you saw that picture being posted on Twitter, which, by the way, holy crap, is he jacked. Jeez Louise. All right, here you go. Hey, sometimes you got to click the mouse button properly, folks. Streaming 101, something I need to learn, apparently.
Not really. I think a lot of people think I try to be just like him, but honestly, I played baseball, never liked football. As a kid, I always wore glasses. I've had this haircut since 6th, 7th grade maybe, and I didn't really know about Mahomes then. And I had my own little kick to it. So, it's not completely like him, but I guess if that's what people want to say, that guy's one of the best, so it's cool. But I just try to do mimic my game after, myself. But it also, if you're trying to get to where you want to get to, you have to see and know what it takes to get there. And I think he's done more than enough to see what it takes. And it's just learning football. But yeah, just try to do my thing, and hair, I guess, looks like it.
he navigated that nicely, but at the same time, he's like, "Good God, I can't believe I have to answer this stuff." Oh my goodness! Catching up on some comments. Moonbot makes a great point that Barney will be our new Trey Palmer in the next couple of years. I would submit to you that there's a good chance that Jalen Lloyd could be that guy too. At the same time, if two of those guys on the same field at the same time could be scary for defenses. The whole group is good, though. Yes, Moonbot, we saw that on display in droves last night.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, our buddy Justin says Barney has improved his route running, too, so he'll be able to get loose on double moves, etc. And he comes with threat across the entire route tree. No doubt he will be a problem. And what I love about that, Justin, is the fact that I think we have a quarterback that's going to have no problem finding him. He found a lot of guys last night, for sure. Moving on to his thoughts on leadership. We just got 3 more clips here, and this is his thoughts on leadership.
Yeah, I think that comes honestly from mat drills and those things, like earning their trust, working hard, and you can't. If I just walked in here day one and ripped them and whatever, there would be nothing would happen, right? So it just came from working hard together, going through the hard stuff, and now that kind of have their trust, it's like, okay, he's not getting on me just to get on me, but he fixes it and gets it right. We celebrate that. It's not just I'm gonna rip you, and there's no love being shown. Like, everybody knows in the building, if you get ripped, we're gonna build you right back up, and if you correct it and make it right, we're gonna celebrate that, because that's a big deal to us.
Pretty insightful stuff from an 18-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah.
First thing that jumped out at me was the fact that, we were kind of talking, there might be a little context to what he's saying now.
Yeah.
Based on some of the things you told me that maybe he didn't quite have the respect that he thought he should have had early, because he hadn't earned it yet. So hearing him speak on that, I think he's maybe he's kind of like Rule in a way, saying, I kind of probably blew it in this area. So I needed to work toward earning that. So I don't know, what did you think?
I agree with you, and I thought that was pretty insightful. And without getting too much into kind of what we had talked about earlier before the show, but I do think that you see it in his actions of he's making sure he's developing himself as the leader of this team, even though he is a true freshman coming in here with a bunch of old guys, and especially with that old, rough and tough defense we have right now that are absolute studs. I think it's very important for him to establish himself as that leader, not just for the offense or just the young guys. If he wants to establish that, it's got to be every action has strong intent with it. And I think he's going out of his way to do that.
Good point. I think there's no doubt that there were moments last night specifically that I tweeted about that it was like, yeah, this guy is taking on that mantle. He wants that mantle. He wants to be the guy that leads the team out on the field, leads the team in drills and things like that. So I was certainly appreciative of that. No doubt about it. Then he moves on to talking about the competition at quarterback. My guess is the question was about naming a starter, how that's going to happen, all that good stuff. And he was, I love the way he handled it. This is really cool.
No, I think every day is just go out and compete. Our room has grown and since the spring, and we've gotten closer than we've ever been. So, I mean, obviously, everyone on the team knows it's a competition, and I mean, if you came and watched practice, it's not like, okay, I'm hoping or Heinrich's hoping someone messes up. Like, we're helping each other. We're trying to get the team better before we put ourselves first. So, I mean, that's part of being a quarterback. You put your team before yourself. But, I mean, the time will come when it's time to name a starting quarterback. But as of right now, we're not. We're just worried about our team and what we can do to get better.
No doubt about it. I think that was about as he answered that exactly how Adrian would have answered it, probably how Taylor would have answered it back in the day when he played for Pelini, how anybody is going to answer that question. He's not going to be, Mr. Well, they don't name me the starter, I'm not going to be happy kind of person. He's not that kind of guy.
100%.
So I appreciated those comments there, that it's all about making each other better, getting better. We saw some of that last night, picking each other up. All those kinds of things. So, and especially from him. So, any thoughts on that? Anything that grabbed you that he said in there that was kind of a nugget that you said, "Oh, I didn't."
Not necessarily. Just kind of like you had said. I feel like that's a very, again, for him being an 18-year-old kid, a very mature and very solid answer. And I mean, that's about as perfect of an answer as I could expect from him.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So. Then he finished up. The very last question he was asked was, my guess was about having his uncle around and things like that. And this is really cool because his uncle isn't the only family member.
Yeah, it was cool to see him and his uncle interact though last night. It was cool to see those interactions.
That was fun. I enjoyed that for sure.
Yeah, it's cool to have. I think the spring game, the first touchdown I threw, I got to hug my uncle. Probably one of the first people that was over there. So, giving me chills right now, but just to have family here. Growing up, that's all I had. That's all I ever knew. So, why change what I have? I have an opportunity in front of me. Why change what I have? So, having him's great, but like sister close to me, live together, and her dog lives with us. It's special. Both my siblings, we have a special bond, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So. It's just comforting to, look to the sideline, see my uncle there. I mean, my sister comes to every practice. So, joke, nudger, whatever, it's family. So it's very comforting.
Okay. So that was interesting to talk about his family. And before we played the video, watching him interact with his uncle and have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
No doubt about it that it's so important for him. The fact that his dad's name is up there on the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that he calls this place home because his family is attached to this place.
Yes.
It's so awesome. I love, he's just got a good head on his shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
He's just mature. He's ready to go. He's ready to lead. I thought this is interesting. I don't recall Heinrich throwing a lot of picks last night.
I remember the first one.
I saw Danny throw it too.
Yeah,
for sure.
I could be wrong. The first drive that Harburg was in, he threw that interception. But other than that, I could be wrong. I just don't remember it.
Yeah,
from what I saw.
I don't either. DK threw at least two that I recall.
Andy had a fumble.
Yep, Andy.
That's the one that got me disappointed.
it was painful. That one and one of the running backs had a fumble too, and we both saw him running running around the track, because that's what you have to do. Going to drop the ball on the ground, you're going to get to run with it. So that pretty much wraps up, Bud, the talk about Dylan. We need to move on to last night, which if any of you were there that are watching tonight, we'd be curious to hear your comments as well. If you're watching and you were there. First and foremost, right out of the gate, I tweeted about it last night, and kind of one of the beauties of the blue check mark is you can now get long-winded and try to sound like you know what the hell you're talking about. And I just said that two things stood out to me last night. There were two messages that I think in some ways Rule was sending us by the fact that Dylan led the guys out from the tunnel, and that Dylan was running with the defense at the end of the game, at the end of the practice after they lost the punt catch battle.
Yep.
And they had to run a gasser, and he ran it with them while the rest of the offense was heading off the field. There's no doubt in my mind who QB1 is. Number one, that was the first takeaway from last night.
And it wasn't even just the fact that he was leading them in the team things, but look at every single drill they did. Who was the first quarterback taking the snaps?
First snaps.
And I'll say that was a contrast. So when I visited, it was a closed practice, but I visited a closed practice last August. We all knew Jeff Sims was probably going to be the starter, but he wasn't taking all the first reps. He was taking a lot of the first reps,
right?
But he wasn't taking all of the first reps when I was there. So for Dylan to take every single first rep, I feel like is kind of significant.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I was, how can I put this and not feel like I'm crapping on the other guys? The arm talent was just completely on a different level.
That's been my biggest takeaway from him. So I feel like it's been a long time, if not ever, we've ever had an arm talent, just pure arm talent. So one of the little notes that I had from it, just watching the indie drills, or just watching him throw the deep balls during the one-on-ones. There's a huge difference. And I'm, again, like you said, I'm not trying to put down any of the other guys.
Right.
There is a huge difference. Just the way that ball comes out and the way that thing floats out there is just miles ahead of any other quarterback we had on the roster. And I knew he was probably going to be the best arm we had, but I was not necessarily prepared for how big that gap was about to be.
Neither was I. I figured Danny would be a little closer. I figured, and Heinrich, I think, well, I'm going to say something a little weird here, and I think we talked about it in the stadium last night. I'm not sure Daniel Kalen's sitting at number 3. And I'm not exactly sure if Heinrich has separated himself completely as a number 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it's early in camp. I get that. But from what I saw last night, Jalen Gramstad and Heinrich are kind of sitting at QB2 together.
To me, Jalen had the second best arm talent out there last night. I think and just pure arm talent, take everything else away, just the way he throws the football. I think he was ahead of Harburg. I think he was ahead of Danny Kalen.
So basically what you're saying then is for the type of offense that we think we're going to see from Sat this year, Jalen's likely to go in if Dylan gets hurt more so than you think Heinrich at this point in fall camp would
be.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that Harburg definitely does have a lot of trust. And I will say, he's gotten a lot better in a lot of areas. And I feel I sent you a text like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm talking your ear off because I was observing everything. And that's just how I, do that sometimes as I talk about, like, Harburg looked a lot better in a lot of areas. And I think Glenn Thomas is playing a huge role in that because something that I noticed from the first team period he was in before he threw the interception, something I noticed right away was a lot of times you'd see him last year, he'd get that snap and it'd be one, maybe a second read, and then, hey, I got to take off running.
Yep.
But last night, like one of the first or second passes he threw, it was 1, 2, then he hit the third read. And that was not something we saw a lot of last year.
Right.
And that was something that right away I told you, like, hey, that's good. That's an improvement right there.
He did that a lot last night.
Yes,
in fact, I think he got past his third read before he ever took off and run.
Yes.
A couple of times. And he's next level with his legs. But surprisingly, I thought Dylan had a couple of decent get himself the hell out of trouble.
Yeah.
And he'd get 5-10 yards down the field and just kind of dance out of bounds. And granted, when the real bullets are flying and you're not wearing a green jersey, it might be a little different.
For sure.
But I'm not too scared if Dylan has to scramble a little bit. And his ability to navigate the pocket.
Yes.
When I think there was one play, was it Sherman was kind of coming in on him. He had walked the jack up.
Yep.
Was in that first drive. And he got in on him, and he just kind of scoots to the right and steps up about 2 steps and then fires a seed.
His pocket presence is not that of a true freshman.
No.
And I will say that's the biggest thing, not with him, but just in general, that I think people forget. As someone who's coached high school and coached like young quarterbacks, I can tell you that like we script these guys a lot sometimes.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I was very happy with Jalen Gramstad coming to the University of Nebraska. I've talked about that on Justin's show, The Voice of College Football, is a lot of times we, as high school coaches with these high school quarterbacks, like so heavily script what these guys do.
Yeah.
And that's why having that pocket presence and being able to make all these reads is so important. And I think Dylan did a fantastic job of that. And that's something, and you don't see from a lot of 18-year-olds, as someone who has coached 17, 18-year-olds, being able to make a big difference in the pocket, move around, make smart. Don't just run to run. Like, hey, sometimes you don't need to run. Just take a step up in that pocket.
Yeah.
Is sometimes, but you don't see that a ton. And that's, I think a lot of that is just as high school coaches, who are we going to trust more? A 17-year-old kid? Or are we just going to trust ourselves and say, all right, if these aren't there, then just go.
Yeah.
And so for Dylan to already be coming in and having all that up here is already a huge step up from a lot of young quarterbacks, let alone any of the amazing talent he has. I think up here is what's separating him from young quarterbacks across the country.
Sure, for sure. Justin is, I know. Nobody's going to start over Dylan. We get it. You're not challenging me there. It was here where he said Gramstad hasn't been here long enough. And I agree with you. You're right.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
If I was just going based on my eyeballs from last night, Justin, and you're right. In my mind, he's even with Harburg when it comes to being QB number 2. When it comes to knowing the playbook, when it comes to being a part of Rule's program and doing his offseason, doing all the things that Rule wants him to do. But let's be honest, too, Justin, one of the things he wants to be is a coach. So if there's a guy that's going to grab that playbook and know it quickly sooner than some people, except maybe Dylan.
Hey, but I will say
probably going to be somebody like Gramstad.
Along that line, though, something I noticed was after Danny Kalen threw one of his interceptions, Dylan went right away to him and like kind of propped him up. It kind of seemed like, hey, keep your head up kind of thing. Then who was standing there on the sideline coaching him through what went wrong?
Yep.
It was Jalen.
Yeah.
Jalen talked him through that.
Yep.
And that was before Glenn Thomas eventually made his way over and talked his way through it. But like Jalen was sitting there coaching him up, pointing to this, doing all like. So I think Jalen's getting this thing down. Again, I'm not going to disagree with Justin in that Henrik will probably be the number 2 to at least to start. But that's why I said potentially.
Sure, absolutely. I got you, Justin. Thank you. Yeah, he's right. He's got to learn that whole offense. He's got to learn how to do the Rule stuff. He's got to ingest plenty of Rule aid in the sense that he has to understand and know. But hey, we're all entitled to our opinion, Justin, and I think yours probably carries a little bit more weight than mine. Your channel's bigger. But the Indy drill, there was a moment, and it made both of us laugh. There was a moment where Dylan threw a ball, and if I remember right, it was just a beautiful, dropped right in the bucket, and the receiver, Glenn Thomas, pointed him out, said, what a great catch by Brady or whatever his name was, and whatever. And my God, wasn't that a terrible throw by Dylan? And it wasn't. It was absolutely perfect. It was so funny.
Yeah. That was good. It reminded us all that as much as we're propping this kid up, he's still human.
Yeah.
And he's still a young kid.
Yeah.
So let's not prop him up as God yet.
Not yet. No, not yet. It's just, we know, Justin. We know. We know. And it'll be fun wrestling with you for time next week when we're doing our, what's going to happen next week when we do our 2 deep? Justin's going to drop a 6 deep on us. That's what's going to happen. He's going to say, screw you guys. I'm coming up with a 6 deep. But it'll be fun. That's good. Yeah. I can't wait for that.
That'll be good. That'll
one
be
of
good.
our favorite things to do too. We did that with the Cuzcast last year. We had one episode where we did just the offense, which I don't know, we might have to do that. And then one episode where we did the defense, and the defense episode featured a moment that will live in Gen Red history. You guys will have to go back and find that one from 2022, before the 22 season, because Justin had a little bit of let's just say he emitted a sound from an orifice in his body that he was not expecting to have happen. And then he got up and ran the hell off screen. So they were like, the other cousins were laughing. So we couldn't compose ourselves until Justin got back in his seat. Not Justin Adams, Justin from the Cuzcast. And it was one of the funniest moments we've ever had. And of course, I was still drinking at the time. So I was good 3 or 4 glasses of bourbon deep, and just, we were dead. It ended up being a short on I think it's the only short on my YouTube channel, and I called it a shart. So, want to know how Hofkin did. Did he hold his own or look lost? You know what, Moonbot? To my shame, I was so busy watching the green jerseys out there and trying to figure out who their favorite guys were that they were throwing.
A lot of it
to,
was hard for us, especially where we were sitting, because like during all the Indy stuff, they were in the D line was like completely opposite of us. So it was kind of hard to get a good look. But I do have a funny story about Hofkin, though, that I heard from someone that works with the team quite a bit. With him being from overseas, you probably know this, how a lot of times they're like the way they speak in a little bit broken English, but it's very to the point.
Yes.
So a lot of times I heard this from when like Coach Knighton's trying to like coach him up a little bit. He just kind of like, yes, I know, sir. Yes, sir. I'll get this done. And for some reason, that just made me laugh because I've coached a kid that has been from like overseas, and it's so hard because all the other kids are all like, "Oh, okay, I got it, coach."
God, he's pissed at me for coaching him.
Yes. And that was just a pretty funny story I heard the other night. And every time I kind of think of him now, I think of that story of him just, "Yes, coach, I got it."
So, the first offensive line that ran out on the field, I saw it on Twitter, and God forbid if I can't remember it now, but you had Bryce on one side. I think he was right guard. I think Turner started left guard or right tackle.
Yeah, I was trying to
Corcoran
not correct
started
you,
left tackle. Yeah, and then you had Justin Jenkins on one guard spot. And
I believe he was right guard.
Mazuka was at the other guard spot, and then of course Scott at center. They looked really good on that first drive.
They did look really good. Look really good, and I'm glad that was the first, because not to toot my own horn here, but you know who predicted that on theirs, But no, I thought they looked really good.
And it's his most watched video, so it's because he's right.
There you go.
It's the living legend, Coach PA over here. He was good, and then of course you had Nayor, Banks, and surprisingly Bonner running out there as the starting top 3 wideouts.
I believe, without throwing too much out there, I believe it's because Jalen is banged up a little bit. And I mean, we saw, I'm not breaking news at this point that he was banged up because he didn't practice. He was in the yellow jersey.
And they said, and the official from the university was he has tightness. So whatever that means, we're not sure. Probably something lower leg.
Yeah.
Most likely. So Jalen didn't practice, and maybe Bonner's been in that third spot.
Oh yeah, 100%. We don't know that for sure, but that was just something that I think Jalen's still a dude that could potentially be in that third spot.
But those receivers look smooth.
They did.
And man, the running backs. It was Johnson and Johnson were the two. Two starters.
Yeah.
So if that's the way it goes. If that's who our top 2 are going to be, that's going to be on the cover of a magazine somewhere. Johnson and Johnson.
It's got to be.
It has to be. Not baby oil either. This is like, oh my goodness.
So I thought the running backs looked good.
I thought they did too.
They ran hard, and they did a good job. I felt like, because let's be real, with the way our defense is, it's especially the way Tony White brings pressure, there's not a lot of running gaps to run through.
No.
And there was a few of them that they didn't get a ton of yards, because I think it's going to be very hard to run against our defense, but they were able to find some holes that weren't.
Get some chunks.
Yes. And I thought that was pretty encouraging to see, because I don't think like I said, I don't think there's any running back or offensive line in the entire country that's going to be able to run down our number one defense's throat.
No, probably not.
I don't think you can, even in a practice setting, get any set of offensive line or running back in the country. But it was still encouraging to see that.
I think it's trademarked. I need to pull my video from last year before the season when I was singing Emmett's praises. LOL. Yeah, Johnson & Johnson, you're right, Moonbot. Of course it's trademarked. Good God in heaven. You've got to steal my joy, bot. You steal my joy. You need to, well, he's participating at work because last time I called him out for not having a life. He spends his entire life on Husker streams, and he's like, well, I'm at work. So I'm like, yeah,
fair enough.
How in the blazes are you able to comment so much? I mean, what kind of job do you have? Because if he's sitting in the front seat of a semi making all these comments, I'm a little scared for the safety of the people on the road. Yes, we're bullying. Yes, Justin, we're bullying Moonbot. Absolutely bullying Moonbot. We're having fun. This is fun. I'd like to hear from you specifically, besides quarterbacks and maybe some of the skill position players necessarily on the offense, was there anybody that you think is going to be wearing a black shirt this year that you said, holy smokes, this guy? I know immediately for me, the way Deshaun Singleton ran through and over Emmett Johnson on that first drive. Yeah. That dude's like Mike Brown. He reminds me so much of Mike Brown. Yeah. Explosive, heavy hitter. So he stood out to me early. Anybody else in your mind? I mean, Ty and Nash were just bugging the center all night. Oh, yeah. So.
Something that I like about our defense, but in these kinds of conversations kind of hurts the discourse a little bit, is with how deep we are right now on defense and with how much we are willing to sub those guys out to keep fresh bodies in our 3-3 stack. Like, you got to have a fresh body in there. Otherwise, the effectiveness just goes out the window.
Excuse me.
So I feel like I'm trying to figure out how to word this without it coming out weird, but like, I don't want to say the black shirts don't mean as much, because it 1,000% does. But just because you don't have a black shirt doesn't mean you're still not going to be on the field.
A lot.
Yeah. You know what? So like, that's kind of where I was very encouraged by all the defensive depth I saw last night.
Yep.
Especially in our, I guess it'd be a front six the way we do it, our defense. But D-line and linebacker depth especially, I was very happy to see. that. And new guys, I mean, I don't know. I just felt like overall as a unit, they played really well. At least that was my kind of overview of it.
I was impressed. There was some good coverage out there that night. They disguised, my guess is they disguised some looks that, Heinrich and Danny didn't pick up on.
Tony White was throwing the house at those guys. He was switching things up quite a bit. Something I pointed out to you quite a bit is I wanted to see, are we going to run more of our 3-man front, or are we going to walk that jack backer up quite a bit? I was looking to see which one are we going to lean towards, and they did it about 50-50, which I think kind of threw. I mean, it doesn't throw anything for a loop necessarily because those guys see it every day, but I'm like, I still don't know which one we're going to lean towards more just because we saw it.
So when you're an offense and you've got that jackbacker walking up, so in essence, you're looking at a 4-2 front.
Yeah, it changes everything. It changes all your blocking rules.
It changes your, obviously you've got to call out protections, or Ben Scott's got to see that too, doesn't he? And say, hey guys, we got this coming. And then does it change your hot read then for your wide receiver? Is there a hot read that becomes evident or obvious once that backer walks up? Is there somebody in the slot that can say, I'm the hot read now? Or
it would definitely change things a little bit. I think there will be a hot read no matter what. It would just be whether it just depends on who that is. Because when that backer's backed off, a lot of times on the RPO stuff, that's your read. That's your read right there. If he bites on the run, we're hitting a peak slant right behind it. Or if he sits, we're just running like an outside zone because he's still sitting down there. We don't have to worry about it. Yeah. But when he walks up, you can still run the read, but it can't be the same type of read because theoretically, if he's walked up, there's not going to be if he's dropping back, if he's dropping straight back, then you just need to run right at that gap, because then gaps, you're going to have one there. Now where you can really throw quarterbacks for a loop, and why I really like this defense. I talked about this with Nick Henrich a little bit. Something I really enjoy is when you get that jack backer that is athletic enough to walk up, and then he's still got that flat coverage.
Drop.
When he can get all the way out there to those flats, that's where you can throw young quarterbacks for a loop.
Yeah.
Is because if you see this guy here, you think you're reading that guy, he's going that way. You're like, oh shit. Yeah. That's something I really like about our defense right now.
So who all plays that jack position? Because I get confused between who's an inside linebacker and who's playing jack. Are they all kind of interchangeable?
For the most part, a lot of times, we saw it a little bit last night. We saw a few guys. John Bullock doesn't really go out there.
No.
I don't think Vincent Shavers is going to be out there too much. I'm trying to think. But for the most part, I mean, we saw it last year. There's a few different guys that played that spot.
You got MJ. You've got Jamari.
MJ plays out there quite a bit. You're right.
Jamari.
I don't think Jamari's going to play there very much. I think he's going to be strictly on the D line.
Inside?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we saw a lot of that last night.
And then Buddha Wright, is he going to play? Does he play that jack spot?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then, all right, got a lot of length on that defense. That's what I noticed sitting at field level, because I normally don't. I'm usually way up in the nosebleeds, where you got to have an asthma inhaler by the time you get up to your seats, you can catch your breath. That was so nice to sit where we sat, because I'm like, I don't want to get hit by any of these guys.
Yeah.
From the cornerback clear up to the defensive line.
We got some grown ass men.
They are and they're quick and they're fast. And And then after the practice, standing there by the fence, and I turned around and I see Malcolm Hartzog walk up to the fence to sign something for a kid. And the pipes on that dude.
Yes, you pointed that out right. You're like, look at that arm. Look at that arm.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because you don't see that on TV.
Yes,
and
100%.
you damn sure don't see that in row 90.
Yeah.
But that dude is absolutely stacked.
Oh, yeah.
Caleb Benning looks like a monster. I mean, there's athletes everywhere, not just on the offensive side of the field.
Oh, yeah.
But there's dudes that can move on the defensive side. We got to have them to run that 3-3-5.
Yes,
right?
It's all about
playing in space.
Yeah.
And having speed and length, the ability to get the wingspan. That's why I'm so excited to see that Hofkin when he gets a hold of it. You can figure that.
I believe everyone in that building is like, he might not be a dude right now just because he's still, but like, wait 2 years. That's what I keep hearing from people like inside the building is that
give him 2 years of
give him
conditioning.
2 years. Give him 2 years to understand what the hell's going on, and then
all bets are off.
Yes.
All bets are off. Was there anything else before we kind of move? I'd kind of like to transition to talk a little bit of special teams, because I think that was a big concern for me when it came to punting. Bushini was as inconsistent can get, except when he was punting to the guys that were in the punting contest. He didn't have anybody rushing at him. He just had to flip the ball up in the air as high as he possibly could. And
those were great. Those were great.
Where the hell was that when the drill was going on? But the punting concerned me. It really concerns me because I don't know if Coke's going to be ready.
Yeah.
So,
very much concerned me.
Because they threw a lot at him. It looked like they were throwing a bunch of different rushes at him, and he just wasn't sure what to do with the football and where to send it.
We had a few go right towards sideline, not very far. That was the most disappointing thing for me in that entire practice.
Me too.
Was just how disappointing. Because I told you last night, I will never give the Iowa Hawkeyes, I hate saying their name, but I don't want to give them any credit whatsoever. But the one thing I have to say is I've been at the last few Nebraska-Iowa games at Memorial, and I got to say, watch them warm up special teams.
Oh, yeah.
And watch us warm up special teams. And I know right then we still have a long way to go. Yep. Last night, as I saw not just one, like we can deal with a couple of those kicks in practice, but like it was almost every single one didn't look good.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there thinking, this doesn't happen at Iowa. And I hate having to think about them. But I was just thinking, man, this doesn't happen at a team that runs really good special teams. So that was disappointing for me to see that, like, the good special teams in the country, like, they're not shanking punts consistently. And that's what I saw last night, and that was disappointing.
And that's what, when they interviewed, the beauty of last night, too, was you heard interviews with coaches on the field as they're practicing.
That was awesome.
And they had Ed Foley over there. And he was talking about playing 95 to 100% perfection is what he's looking for, is a perfect rep every single time. And you said it
Yeah.
in the stands. If you're executing on offense and defense at a 90-95% clip, you're going to be a good team.
Yeah.
But if you're executing special teams at a 90 to 95% clip, your
You're the
special
worst.
teams are going to
Yeah.
suck.
You're the one. That's the crazy thing is if like when you go through and do your grades, as someone who's like gone through and like done grades, granted not at college level, but just grading your players every single time. If you're grading as a unit at like 90, I'll just call it 90%. If you're grading an offense and a defense at 90% for the whole game, that's going to be one of the best units in the entire country. If you're grading your special teams at 95%, you're going to be one of the worst units in the country.
Well, you know what? Justin has
All right, he settled it. He settled
it. And you know what?
Forget everything I said. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anyway.
Hey, Justin, I trust you because your channel's bigger than mine. That's going to be a refrain from now on. Oh, yeah. Yes, it is, Braska Rascal. It is overflowing with Roulade. Mine is too, until the punter runs out on the field. Then I dump that shit out on the ground and I grab a fake beer and just hope. Field goal kickers, because, of course, Alvano's out. With a groin injury, just got operated on. I guess he'll be back fairly soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought both kickers were
I was impressed by that. They're kicking 48-yarders and not just making them all,
making them
sailing them through.
Yeah,
I was happy with it, and I was also
halfway up on the net, so they'd have been good from at least 58.
Yeah, and I was also I was also happy that we weren't missing close kicks, because that's the thing with Alvano. And I'm not saying Alvano shouldn't be the starter. I'm just saying I think the leash is a lot shorter now, because there's never been any data on Alvano on whether he can hit long balls. It's always the shorter ones that we've seemed to not be able to figure out. I was happy to see both our kickers last night making 30-yard field goals.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that we don't always see in Nebraska.
No, we don't. It was nice to see that consistency.
Yes, I'm not saying this as, he shouldn't start. If he earns it, he earns it. I'm saying I feel like that leash is a lot shorter now after what I saw last night.
Well, and they did it in front of a little bit of a crowd.
Yeah.
They didn't do it in front of an empty stadium and just coaches. There was a little bit of a crowd who were actually watching them, because, we like our field goals go through. They're kind of nice.
Yes,
when that
Nebraska
happens.
fans are kind of crazy.
Let's see here. There we go. I like taking off the analyst glasses sometimes, referring to the fact that he's getting drunk on Roulade. Analysis. You know where that word comes from, right, Justin? It's two words, actually. It's anal and ISIS, to pull numbers from. So that's what analysis is. You're pulling numbers directly out of the annals of analysis. The O is going to look unstoppable until the OSU game. Then Moonbot with the positivity.
I love it.
Moonbot bringing the positivity.
I love it. I'm telling you, if we don't have to see a punter until Ohio State, it's going to be a damn good season, boys. It's going to be a really good season.
No kidding. Unless, of course, you're into a shootout with somebody like freaking Illinois, then it kind of sucks.
Yep.
Was there any wind at all? Not sure the weather out there right now, so sorry if that. No, it's not a dumb question, because there really wasn't any breeze.
Mm-hmm.
At least not where we were sitting. We were all sitting on the West Stadium, which was an absolute godsend with the sun setting behind
that was great.
The facade. It was so much cooler than walking up into the stadium.
Yeah.
So what did I just say to you? Nothing, Justin. You can hit rewind to hear what I was saying, and it wasn't about you. I was just analysis. Go look it up.
You better watch out. He's a really good boxer. You don't want to make him mad.
He's a good boxer, and he's got a bigger channel than me, so I got to watch myself. I'm offended, and I don't even know why.
I love Justin.
I'll go back to it, Justin. Analysis. It's made up of two words, anal and ISIS. We know what anal means, and ISIS means to pull numbers from. So there you have it. Now you get it? Hope you do. Moonbot's got to give me an LOL. So cool. Got an LOL. Hey, thanks, Moonbot. Appreciate it. This is, yes, anal and ISIS. Yes. He's got it now. Except that's a Y, sir. That would be a Y, not an I. Not today, ISIS. No, it doesn't. It definitely does not sound like a good thing. God, we're in silly mode now. Was there anything else from last night that grabbed your attention before we kind of wrap this thing up? Because I think we've kind of hit just about everything that was on your mind, haven't we?
Yeah, it caught me right away, though, how the entire practice, the defense brought the intensity, but as the practice went on, they got better and better and better. I thought that first team defense just kept looking great. They were getting after it. And yes, like we kind of talked about earlier, like they weren't trying to kill anybody, but like they were laying some hits now. They weren't just, they're making them earn every yard that they're getting in practice.
Yep.
So I thought that was very encouraging to see. The other thing that I noticed that I kind of made a note right away of was the ball security thing. It's definitely being emphasized just as much, if not more than last year. Something that I noticed right away was that the second and third team groups had much more problems with ball security. So part of me thinks, hey, that might be a reason that they're that second and third group is because they're having troubles fumbling the football or throwing interceptions. I would have to double check everyone who was taking very detailed notes. I did not take detailed notes. I just kind of typed some things down. But something that I don't think that first group had any turnovers last night. Not that I remember.
I didn't see.
At least during the team period.
I don't. Do you recall seeing Dylan put the ball anywhere that it might have been picked, or anywhere near somebody that you were like, oh
no? I'm glad you brought this up because this was a point that I made to you last night that I really wanted to say. Something that Dylan does very good is even when the ball, even if the ball's not going to be complete, it's going to be incompletion. Dylan did a fantastic job of getting that ball where only the receiver can get it and the defense can't get it.
Okay.
So even if it's not completed, the defense can't intercept it. And I thought Dylan did a very good job of that last night, of not putting the ball in harm's way. That was something that really impressed me right away. Something we didn't see from the other quarterbacks. And some of those, it might be just 8 inches this way where it now gets tipped a little bit and the defense takes off running with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Dylan did a very good job with his ball placement last night.
I thought it looked good too for me. And the ones that were picked were just bad decisions.
Yeah.
Obvious. It was bad decision. And bad decisions, not just because they just suck at making decisions, but the defense put them into the spot of making a bad decision.
There was one that I think it was the second one that Danny threw that I think the defense very much confused him, because even though I have kind of given him a little flack, and I love the kid, I'm not trying, but something I saw right was he took the snap, he looked, and he threw it without really even reading it. What I think happened was that defense, kind of like what I talked about earlier, how that our 3-3 defense can confuse some young quarterbacks on all the different ways, especially if you get an athletic jack that can go. I think what had happened was he had his pre-snap read right away, and he just looked and flung it out there, and then it was an oh boy. Yeah. And that's something that you see though, because a lot of times coaching, especially like I said earlier with young quarterbacks, is a lot of those reads are pre-snap. And that's something that I don't know this for a fact, because I don't know Danny's coaching staff that he had at high school, but I'm just going to guess a lot of his reads were pre-snap. That's what we do to young quarterbacks, high school quarterbacks. We get them that read pre-snap, and we make the post-snaps reads pretty freaking easy of like, hey, if this guy drops, you're hitting this. If this guy stays, you're hitting the post over the top. Like, make it very easy. So that's something that I think he's still learning a little bit is, oh, crap, these guys might do a lot. And I think he had his pre-snap read, and as soon as he threw it, I think he knew that, oh, boy, that linebacker, that safety did not do what I thought he was going to do.
Right. And I think Justin is saying that you've dropped the ball by not being out there with the headset and the clipboard in the stands.
You're right. I should have.
He God knows he was talking my ear off. So
yeah, I was. I was talking your ear off. Which I
so appreciated, because you were seeing things. I was just watching what the hell was going on, and he's telling me what he's seeing, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm still not sure what the hell I saw, but at least he told me what I was seeing.
I did feel a little bit bad.
You should have been writing everything down. So.
I should have.
And you know what, guys? I'm not sure if you could tell. We have no outline tonight, do we?
No.
We didn't write jack crap down at all. We just thought We got clips of Dylan.
This is the way to go.
And we're just going to go, oh, I remember this from last night. And just kind of, because of podcast guys, we can't all be professional big channels like Justin. we just can't. We're going to have fun. And so first of all, we're just into, never mind. Coach said it first. So at the end, what was really cool, end of the night, they did, of course, the linemen versus the coaches on offense and defense, punt catch, and the offense won. So the defense had to run. Dylan ran with them. Defense then came to the fence at West Stadium to sign autographs and meet people and take pictures. And I had a really cool chance meeting with Ty Robinson back in Christmas 2022 when I went down to Arizona for vacation and went to a gun range because they have some cool gun ranges out there to go shoot at. And I looked down about 15 stalls. This thing was huge, this gun range. Looked down about 10 stalls, and there's a whole bunch of people walking around in Nebraska gear. And I was like, I wonder. So I remembered Ty was from Arizona, never even really thinking that. So I just knew there were players from Arizona. So I was like, I think I'm going to walk down there. And this was right after Rule was hired. I walked down there and this guy says, hey, how you doing? I said, I just see all the Nebraska gear you guys are wearing. And I'm wondering, anybody here a player? And they were like, yeah, you should. That big guy out there, you probably know who that is. I said, holy smoke, that's Ty. And he says, yeah. So he comes up, takes a picture with me. I tell him about the fact that my son and I have a Husker podcast. And he says, oh, that's pretty cool. So last night at the fence, he comes right up to the spot, right in front of where we were sitting. And I walked down there. A couple of kids talked to him first. And then I walked up to him and I looked at him and I said, I don't think you remember me, but we met at a gun range in Arizona 2 years ago. And he was like, oh my gosh, yes, I do remember you. That was really cool. I appreciate you coming up and this, that, and the other. And he signed this shirt that I've got on, which I caught at the stadium last night. They were throwing these out. So this will be the last time I wear it. It'll go up here on the wall probably. But yeah, just standing there talking to him for a second. Then he kind of leans in and he says kind of quietly, I just bought the last of this particular gun that Shields had in stock last night. And he said, it's really, really cool. I'm like, yeah, I've always wanted to shoot one. So yeah, I got kind of gun nut in common with Ty Robinson.
That's cool.
So, yeah, and oh my Lord, he's way bigger than I recall him being when I met him in Arizona. I mean, his legs just look like tree trunks. But and that was the only player I actually took time to meet because all the others were, kids were going up. I just didn't want to be that douchey guy,
Hey, move out of the way, kid.
Yeah. Hey, I want my shirt signed and I want to have them see my podcast logo on my shirt. I mean, how else am I going to get guests besides you? No offense. But yeah, that was cool. I mean, I don't know. Did you get to talk to any guys at all, or you just kind of?
I talked to a few guys, but kind of like you said, I was kind of just letting the kids take the shine. Talked to Nash a little bit. That was cool. He's a real good dude.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty cool kid.
Yeah.
I would have loved to walk over. I love watching him and Ty interact when they were kind of dicking around on the sidelines, playing slap fight and stuff.
They're just like gigantic little kid best friends, right? Like,
but don't get on the other side of the field with them if you're wearing a different uniform because it's not going to be pretty for you.
Oh yeah.
But this was fun, guys. I appreciate all of the comments, especially the back and forth with Justin, because in case y'all didn't know it, his channel's much bigger than mine. And he takes his time out of his night to hang out here with us, and I really couldn't appreciate you more. Moonbot, thank you so much. Rule was a fun thing Rule did for the practice. They did the punting contest.
That was a lot of fun,
and that was an absolute hoot.
Every high school team in America does things like bring the biggest kid out there and punt a ball at him. That was a lot of fun. Terrence Knighton going out there to catch a punt was pretty funny. that made me laugh.
Watching all these guys try to catch a punt with their chest. And I'm like, you've got these giant meat hooks at the end of your arms. Just grab the thing and then pin it. But they couldn't time it.
Something that I've always said, coaching returners that have done that, hitting it in the chest, I've always said, hey, if that was a javelin, it'd kill you. Like this guy would have killed you, man.
Yes, it would have.
So I'm told, if you've been coached by me, you've heard me say that before.
That was a javelin, it would kill you. My goodness, I got to remember that one. That's a good one. Wow. So I guess to wrap things up real quick, again, just let everybody know where they can find not only your podcast on YouTube, but also how they can find the audio version. Because I know you gets released as audio as well, right?
Yes. Any type of social media anywhere, just type in the BA Coaches Show. You'll find me. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I don't know, literally anywhere you can get anywhere that I'm allowed to release a podcast from, I try and get it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Audio listens have actually picked up quite a bit in the last month, which I've been pretty happy with. There for a while, no one was listening to audio. It was only YouTube, which I'm fine with.
Right.
It only takes me 30 extra seconds to get that thing out there for audio, but a lot more people have been listening to the audio, so that's really cool. And something else I kind of want to plug a little bit while I'm here is something that I like to do is I enjoy writing quite a bit. So something I started doing, I partnered with NBNR.com. If you go to their website, NBNR, they do a fantastic podcast. I love all those guys. They're fantastic dudes. And they have a whole new revamped website, and they have a new section on there, their blog section, Red Zone Reflections, written by this guy. And that's a spot that I really like writing things because I'm sometimes still kind of getting used to this whole podcast thing and like getting I rant. I'm a coach at heart. So like sometimes I just start talking and I rant and ramble. So sometimes those written thoughts are a little bit more concise and less jumping all over the place a little bit.
I would have loved to seen what you would have wrote in response to Paul Feinbaum as opposed to going on that rant last podcast.
Oh, that was
I think
good.
The written word would have been far more effective.
Oh yeah. But so if you want to see any of my stuff, not just the BA Coaches Show, make sure you go check out nbnrpodcast.com and go check out that blog, Red Zone Reflection. And this is the important part. Go check out the free forum. There's a free forum. I know there's a lot of Husker forums out there that people talk things back and forth. Why this one is important is it's free, completely free. All you got to do is make the account 100% for free. And I'm not going to say who this is, but they're not going to kick you off their site like some of the other people do. I'm just going to say, I'll tell you that story off air.
No. You're good. I have never managed to get kicked off a forum before.
I did, and it wasn't even something I did. It was something someone else did. Good times.
Some people, drama, all the drama queens out there, I suppose. But to find our show, you just go to @GenRedPod on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Generation Red on your favorite podcast app, which this live stream will be released English. Try it, Ken. It works really good. That's why Justin's channel is so much bigger than mine, is he's better at English.
You're not gonna let him live that down.
No. Justin's got a big channel.
No, I'm gonna keep it up here.
Oh my goodness. Generation Red on your favorite podcast app for the audio version of this live stream. Gen Red Pod is our website, and that's where you can sign up and get set up to play golf with us on October 12th. genredpod@gmail.com is our email address. Please, if you'd like to help us at the golf scramble, we could use a few volunteers to help, hand out prizes and things like that, and handle some of the contests we've got going on at the par 3 holes. So, and if you have any memorabilia, anything you'd like to donate to the cause, we'd appreciate it. Just email me and let me know that you've got something, and we'll make arrangements to get that done. I think that's about it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun. It's been fun hanging out with you the last 2 days.
Yeah, it has. It's been a lot of fun, and we get to do it again next Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Just it'll be remote this time instead of in studio, but for sure this has been a fun time. The last few weeks have been a lot of fun. Before we go, real quick, starting August 8th, our YouTube channel will be dropping one video per day leading up to August 31st. So the last 23 days before Nebraska football kicks off, you will be getting a video a day right here on this channel. It's only 5 to 8 minutes long. It's segments from 2 of our episodes in the last few months where we profiled the 10 most important people we believe are going to make the biggest impact on the program in 2024. And then we'll also our breakdown on the Roulade versus reality show that we did of we ran down all the games from a realistic point of view, as well as a drunk as hell on Roulade point of view. And they're really not all that different, but it's a lot of fun. Some of our most fun stuff that we've done, and just little short videos so you can be kind of reminded. And listen to what we have to say going into the season. And it's just a nice way to get your mind right for Husker football. So with that, on behalf of Coach BA, my buddy Ben, appreciate you being here, my friend. Wish Scott could have joined us. Hope he had a good night with his family. I'm Ken. He's Ben. Together, just for tonight, we've been Generation Red, and we are here every single week to chronicle Nebraska's inevitable return to college football greatness, one podcast at a time. You know how to play, Scott, at this point. What do you need to say?
Iowa corn sucks.
Absolutely. Hey, Scott, you just might have lost your job. Kidding. Iowa's corn sucks worse than Brian Buschini's punts. There we go. Come on, boom, boom.
Wish I could fight that one.
Yeah, I know. That sucks. But anyway, go Big Red. We'll see y'all next week when we count down our 2 deep, except for Justin. He'll come up with a 6 deep because his channel's so much bigger than ours. Anyway, go Big Red. See you next week.